Welcome to Sports Talk with the Cowboy.
Welcome and thanks for riding with the Cowboy. Well, great game Sunday against the Detroit Lions. It was a thrilling game, won by 20-16 by the Bucs. Tremendous game, great game by Baker Mayfield. Ran one in, threw one to Chris Godwin. Tough game. Big game to go up to Detroit, losing twice last year, once in the playoffs to the Lions, but going up there and winning 20-16. Nobody had them winning. They did win. Great game. Great defensive game. Our main defensive tackle, Vita Vea, suffered an injury during the game. Greg Gaines stepped in and played a tremendous game. Dennis played a tremendous game at linebacker. We had great defensive back play. And so Izzian, one of our great defensive backs and safeties last year, came back in after Winfield was out. Played a tremendous game at safety last week against Detroit, got an interception. They held the Lions in the last fourth quarter down near the goal line. They went for it for 4th and 8, stopped them after making 6, took over the ball. The Lions held them, had to punt the ball and hold them again. Held them off and won the game. Tremendous victory by the Bucs. They went to 2-0. They take on the Denver Broncos at Raymond James Stadium Sunday at 1 p.m. Bo Nix will be coming to town as the starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos, and we'll go from there, see what goes on with the Broncos. But as far as the game with the Lions, it was a tremendous win. It was a team win. It was next man up mentality in the game for the players. The defense were the stars that actually carried the day. Where in the first game, the offense carried the day with 37 points. The defense carried the game against the Lions, stopping them from scoring. And it was a tremendous game. Congratulations to every single player on that team, the coaching staff, Todd Bowles, Jason Light, everyone involved. It will be a landmark game this year, the Victory Sunday. We hope to replicate that Sunday against the Denver Broncos at 1 p.m. at Raymond James Stadium. So, congratulations, Bucs. No more news other than Vita Vea will probably be out 2 weeks. Calais Cansey will probably, it's day-to-day. Luke Genneke, our right tackle that was out during the game against the Lions with a concussion protocol, could play Sunday, but we don't know yet. Winfield will definitely be out. We'll probably have to go Izzy in again, back with Jordan Whitehead at the safety position for the Bucs. A great game, all phases, a gritty game. If you had to sum it up in one word, it'd be gritty, because they played gritty and wound up winning that game. We'll see how it goes Sunday. Congratulations to them, and we'll keep you posted next week what happens against the Denver Broncos. A lot of other games this week. The Raiders defeated the Ravens in a tough matchup, which just Gardner Minshew, the quarterback of the Raiders, they were 14-point underdogs, came back to beat Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, and beat the Ravens. The 49ers were beaten by the Minnesota Vikings and Sam Darnold. Unexpected victory by the Minnesota Vikings. 97-yard touchdown from Sam Darnold and Jefferson. Great game for the Minnesota Vikings, not so good for the 49ers. A lot of upsets. New Orleans 41-10 over the Dallas Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys every which way but loose. So the New Orleans Saints are really a hot team to watch now. 2-0 also in our division. The other night, Atlanta and Philadelphia came down to the Atlanta going back down with seconds on the clock and scoring and beating the Eagles by 1 point. A lot of great action going on in the NFL this week. And so we'll continue to keep you posted on what goes on. Not any clear leaders in each division. We don't think right now it's, really getting into division leaders. There is division leaders in each division. But with only 2 games, we got to let it roll a little bit, maybe 4 or 5 games before we start forming up some kind of leaderships. We're just trying to get the teams out there and playing well, and everybody seems to be. I mean, as far as the league goes, there's some injuries on all teams, but there hasn't been any more serious injuries since that first game with Jordan Love at the quarterback position that was injured against the Eagles down in Brazil. And we'll keep you posted on the NFL next week show. Now we're going to move on to college football. We got a lot to go over this week with USF Bulls playing the Miami Hurricanes over at Raymond James Stadium. The University of South Florida Bulls defeated Southern Mississippi 49-21. Saturday and got their second victory of the year after beating Bethune-Cookman, losing to Alabama. This is game 4, big game, ranked 10th in the country. The Miami Hurricanes, who we know a few weeks ago defeated the Florida Gators up at the Swamp and just beat them to death up there. Had Gator tail, Gator ribs, Gator everything up there on them Gators. But this is a good Miami football team. And if today was the end and the playoffs started, the Miami Hurricanes would make the top 12 team in the country. So that you're playing a top 10 team. You played Alabama week before last. They were 4th in the country. So USF is getting some quality opponents to play. The Gators this week have a tough game. They lost to a real gamey team this week, Texas A&M. The first half was dominated by A&M. The second half, the Gators came back, scored some points. They have a big matchup come this weekend. Of course, Memphis beat Florida State. Florida State is 0-3. They've lost 3 games, 1 to Georgia Tech, 2 to Boston College, and 3 to Memphis the other day up at Doak Campbell Stadium. So both the Gators and the Seminoles are in a real serious funk. And I mean that's literally funk. So we'll see what happens this weekend in college ball. The big teams, the leading teams, Georgia and Texas, both won. Alabama won. Ole Miss won. Tennessee won. Iowa won. These top 10 teams won. There wasn't any top 10 team defeated this weekend. We'll just have to, as each week goes on, you get better opponents. And, of course, if you lose one, you drop. So we just have to keep our eyes on what's going on in college football. We've got that serious 12-team playoff to discuss at the end of the year. And we're trying to get you as much as we can of the Gators, the Seminoles, of course, the Bulls, and the Canes as far as what they're doing this week in college football. A lot of good college action starting Friday night and going on through Saturday. So we'll try to keep you posted next week on what USF does this week against Miami. It's going to be a tough game to beat number 10, and the Canes coming in without a little enthusiasm. But the USF Bulls are a tough little team, and we'll see how they do against a ranked opponent this weekend at Raymond James Stadium on Saturday. And that ground crew, over at Raymond James Stadium got to work real hard because they're going to be ready for USF on Saturday afternoon against the Hurricanes. Then they got to change the color of the field. They got to put the Buck emblems in both end zones, put the Buck emblem in the middle of the field, get the field ready for the Bucs to play on Sunday. So there's 2 games there at Raymond James Stadium this weekend. We'll keep you posted next week on college football. Now, as far as the Tampa Bay Rays and the Major League Baseball, we're down to 12 games left. Last night, a big victory, 5-2 over the Boston Red Sox, which are 3rd in the American League East. The Rays are 1 game from tying with them, and they're playing tonight. In about an hour, they'll start taping of this show. Game 2 of the 3-game set against the Boston Red Sox. They can win tonight and win tomorrow. They will be a 3rd-place team in the American League East and overtake the Boston Red Sox. Will they make the playoffs? No. There's 12 games to go, and they're 12 games back, and so they're not going to make the playoffs. But this, again, it's better to be 3rd place than 4th place, or 4th place is better than 5th place. But they're not going to the playoffs, our Tampa Bay Rays, this year. We said that months ago when they got rid of a lot of their players at the trade deadline, that this was going to be a time when all these players from the Durham AAA ball could come up, play a little bit of baseball, and get acclimated to it so in the next spring they can have a core of players to pick from to field a team. And they've got to see quite a lot of players. Our pitchers, they're looking good for next year. Some that were injured, like Springs and Rasmussen, are back now pitching. So Shane Baz is back pitching. So we've got some pitchers that we're trying to get ready for next year. Not so much this year. We'd like to win 12 straight games, but we reasonably don't believe we can win 12 straight games. But I guess mathematically, if we lose tonight, we're officially out. So we'll keep you posted on what the Rays do. That's about all going on with the Tampa Bay Rays. As far as the Lightning, again, we said it's October before they come back. They're enjoying their time off. God bless them, and do as much enjoyment as they can do. This week at Watkins Glen, Chris Buescher and the Kowalski-Roush car won the race, the Watkins Glen road course. It was a great race. Shane Van Gisbergen was in first place the last lap. Chris Buescher bumped him, really cautiously bumped him out of the way and passed him on the last lap and won that race, Chris Butcher. And we know Chris Butcher's come in second place 3 or 4 times this year and hasn't been able to get to the winner's circle. Well, he got there Sunday. Tremendous race by Chris Butcher. Congratulations to Chris Butcher. And now we're going to go to my questions for the night. We've got quite a lot of them. And the first question is from David. And David wanted to know what I thought about Billy Napier's future with the Florida Gators. I don't believe it's going to be very good. I don't think he's going to last till the end of the season, and that's going to be about the end of Billy Napier. There's a buyout clause in the Gators that can give him $26 or $28 million, and he'll find another job somewhere else or just take his money and live the rest of his life comfortable. But Billy Napier is not the answer to the Florida Gators. But I will say this about the Florida Gators. They've gotten rid of so many coaches. If you look at Bobby Bowden's tenure at Florida State, he was there all those years. How many coaches did the Gators have in the same amount of time that Bobby Bowden was at Florida State? What, 10, 12? I mean, some of you people didn't comment, send them, tell me how many there was. There's a lot of them. I can't even remember them all. So the Gators have got to have some consistency. They can't just, if 2 or 3 years that don't work out, just fire either. And that is their pattern of what they have done. Got rid of Dan Mullins. He had a better record than Napier. They got rid of him. Oh, we get Billy Napier. Guess what Billy did? He did worse than Dan Mullins. And this is how they do that with Florida. They've got to get themselves together and get a coach that sits there for 10 years. A Steve Spurrier, a Bobby Bowden. Don't change every 3 or 4 years. You have 3 or 4 years, it's not a good spell. Build your team back up and get out there and try to win the game. But don't change every 3 or 4 years. And I think Napier's on his way out in Gainesville personally. But I don't know that for sure. Nobody else will until the day that he goes. God bless you for your question. And the next question is from Scott. And Scott wanted to know who I thought would be in the World Series for the National and American League this year. Scott, I think it's going to be the Philadelphia Phillies for the National. And I think it's going to be the Houston Astros for the American. That's just my guess. There's a lot of analytics say it's not going to be those two teams. But as you know, here at Sports Talk with the Cowboy, we have called the World Series right last 3 years. So write that down on your paper. Houston Astros American, Philadelphia Phillies National. We see how it goes and get back with me when it gets time that they go to the World Series, and hopefully we got it right. God bless you for your question. And the last one is from Liz. And Liz wanted to know what I thought about the injuries to Vita Vea's knee. Liz, I understand it's a 2 or 3 week injury. It's a strain, not a tear, not a break. It's an MCL knee injury. Yaya Demby got put into him and rolled into him on a tackle. Didn't mean to hit him. But, you know, when you're over 300 pounds and a guy rolls into you like that, you know, it can happen. He is out 2 or 3 weeks. He does not have a tear. He does not have anything that's going to require surgery. I would suspect 2 to 3 weeks. And, you know, we need him back in there. Our schedule this year with the Buccaneers is a tough one. It's always tough, but especially tough this year. We've got the Rams. We've got the Chiefs. We got the Eagles. You know, we've had the Lions. And we got the Chargers. We got a lot of teams we got to face, and we're going to need them all back in there. And I hope Vita can get back in 2 or 3 weeks. And I hope it's 2 weeks. I hope that we can get him in after the Philadelphia game. But Greg Gaines played a real good game the other day. But, of course, Greg Gaines is the backup, and Vita Vea is our star. Not that Greg Gaines didn't play admirably this week. And I'm looking forward to seeing him play this week against Denver, too. So, Liz, we'll keep you posted on Vita Vea. It was terrible when it happened, but it could have been a lot worse. So we'll just keep you posted on what's going on there as far as Vita Vea is concerned. God bless you, Liz. Thank you for your question. DJX, what you got for me tonight?
Well, Cowboy, you know what it is. Good to be back this time.
Good to see you back here.
All right, we're going to start right here. Let's talk key players. How did Baker Mayfield's performance contribute to the Buccaneers' win over the Lions, particularly terms of passing yards and touchdowns?
The touchdown pass to Chris Godwin is essential for the victory, and also the grittiness of his running ability. When our running game wasn't really up to where we should have been, we had a backup a right guard there, and they have a tough defensive line. He made some of those tough runs. He ran a 20-yard touchdown run on his own, so he contributed greatly in that. He got away from the sack and went around through the center and went on through all the way to the goal line and scored a touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown.
Yeah.
So, yes, his running did contribute. His passing contributed. It was a dual thing. First half, a lot more passing. The second half, once they got understanding how to get past our offensive line, and they had to go to the new guy that was on that right tackle position, and they just overwhelmed him through the whole second half. Baker didn't have time to throw, and I was glad to see him not throw because that could have been costly if there had been interceptions.
Right.
So, he seized small passes, receiver passes, and when he seen a lane there 10 yards, he took it.
Yeah.
That's
So
the
overall
Baker Mayfield
impressive.
way. What's that?
So overall impressive.
Overall impressive.
right.
Impressive.
Let's talk defensive strategy. What defensive tactics did the Buccaneers employ to limit the Lions' scoring and secure their third win of the season?
They had some blitzes, but not a lot of blitzes. They used the four-man front sometimes. They deployed many cornerbacks and got the safeties in the back so that they could keep and limit the pass. And they counted on their linebacking core of Levante David and Chicago Dennis and KJ Britt. They counted on those linebackers to stop that run. They'd give them 4 or 5 yards, 3 or 4 yards, and hope that they passed and missed the pass, and it'd be 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, and maybe hold them. That's how they did it. It was kind of an attrition type deal. They didn't have a real severe pass rush to get into the pass because they don't have any real severe pass rushers anyhow. But they knew that they knew if you gave him too much time, Goff could see a receiver and hit him. So they kept those cornerbacks and safeties in there in the backfield and try to stop that passing game.
Yeah. All right. Season implications. What does this 2-0 start means for the Buccaneers' chance in the NFC, and how will they build on this momentum in their upcoming season?
I hope they build on it because they played with the star players and their defense not there, and the defense had to rally twice to win the game. And I hope that builds up that momentum like you were talking about.
Yeah.
I think they had some from last year left in their tank. Then they all got their contracts where they knew they'd be there for the next 3 years with each other, so they don't have to worry about money no more. They can worry about playing football, and they ain't got to worry about next year and the year after because they're under contract.
Right.
Last year, listen, he could go. Ain't none of that no more.
Okay.
So that continuity is built in, if you know what I'm trying to say to you now. So now this is the first of those 3 years that continuity is going to be built in. And I think it's helped them from last year. And then the continuity, and then going to a place that they were not supposed to win and win. That was big for them. And big that they didn't have Vita Vea. They didn't have Winfield. They didn't have a right tackle. They had less of a team as far as what they call their starters than they did. So they were even psychologically, they could have been down about that. Instead of being down, they played up to it. They played up to it, and I think that's the word we said before, gritty. Gritty. That was their performance. Implications are 2-0. They've been 2-0 the last 3 years, and then they just 4 or 5 games in, it went down the toilet.
Right.
I don't think it was going to be the way that it was then, but it's good that we're 2-0. I will take it.
Okay. And for my final, do we have a championship team?
I think we do, because we play like champions. Champions play whether they have the ability to win or not, because in their minds they think they can win, and they have the courage to go out with thinking that they can win and play to win. The Bucs have played to win. No stage is too big for them now. They've played together enough. They know each other enough that no stage is too big.
Okay.
I mean, they played this week against Detroit, and that crowd was absolutely rabid and ready. And this team came out underdogs by 7 points without 4 of their starters, 3 of them key starters on the defense, with the best offense in football being the Lions. And they could have folded the tent, but they didn't fold the tent. They thought the moment wasn't too big, and they went out there and played their hearts out. And if you're a football fan, football coach, football player, when you see your fellow player play with that kind of grit, Baker Mayfield comes to mind. That gets you going. So, yes, they're a championship quality team.
All right. All right, Cowboy. Well, that's what I got for you tonight.
Well, God bless you, DJX.
God bless you, too.
God bless each and every one of you for your comments and your questions, and send your questions in the comments. We'll be glad to answer them here on air. And be safe out there in this world. show more love than hate. Give a hand up when somebody needs it. Until next week, God bless you. Cowboys out.
Have you ever had a dream that you had you could you do you want you could do so you want him to do you so much you could do anything?